went back old school for Mojo Monday today. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. Happy Mojo Monday.
It is Mojo Monday. And, Rick, as we were preparing for this Mojo, we actually looked backwards to get ready to go forwards. And I looked on our YouTube page. We have 62 Mojo Mondays recorded in our playlist on YouTube. And it's just fun to think that, man, we've been doing this. I guess there's 52 weeks in a year, a little over a year now. And it's a lot of content, some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been a pleasure sharing it. It's always good. Like, I enjoy the jump start I get just from sharing good information. So hopefully that's resonating into the universe and into your hearts and minds.
Absolutely. So let's we're a year in. Let's go back and define what Mojo is. How about we do that for Mojo Monday today?
Yeah. Well, Mojo is just fuel. The way I see Mojo, it's putting a turbocharger on your motor, and it's lightening the load and creating efficiency in your energy so that you seek out and move towards things that enrich and invigorate.
Yeah, I definitely think energy is a big word when we use Mojo, because it's that extra plus 1%. It's that extra degree. It's that I'm performing at my best. I'm showing up as my best. It's the sweet spot, right? It's the sweet spot.
That's it. And it's unweighting your cargo, like letting go of the things that don't really matter and that are just hindering you from the perfect or better version of you.
Absolutely. And it's kind of sad to think that nobody ever has experienced their own mojo or never found their mojo. So maybe we should, what's a formula? Like, how do you find mojo?
Well, I don't know that you necessarily I find it. I think it's process, and I think it's an experience. And I think there's varying degrees of mojo. And circumstantially, I mean, the first thing I think of when I think of mojo is all positive, but some of it's, just alleviating some of the negative in your life and owning it for what it is. And so I think there's 3 steps to it. And I think it's an individual journey. Everyone's version of mojo is probably different. And everyone's, I'm wired optimistically, Brett, just like you. We wake up every day and immediately we're like, well, how do we make the world better? How do we make ourselves better? How do we execute a plan that creates an outcome that furthers the compass towards better? And so, but I guess number 1 is confirm what you want. And in order to do that, you have to kind of take a step back and analyze where you've been, which is like where you are. If you don't have the where you are piece and the where you're going piece, GPS only works when there's 2 coordinates. And I think life is much the same way. If you're not accurately clear in where you are and you're not accurate and clear in where you're going, you'll just wander aimlessly or less intentionally. Sure. And then the 3rd step is kind of define the gap. What's holding you back? What's keeping you from it? And then what are the things that if you did more of, you're just putting fuel on a positive fire?
Yeah. And mojo is really the energy between it all, right? Like how we show up going from point A to point B, or how we show up in execution of the gap plan, if you will, of going in between the 2 points. And I like the word being in the zone. I remember going back to my days when I would play basketball, and there were just games that I was in the zone. And there were also games I wasn't in the zone. But to me, that's like having your mojo, the energy, the swagger, the sweet spot, as I call it. I think you used a different word. What was the word you used? Being in the flow or something?
Yeah,
like
it's flow. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. For a second, it eluded me what I even said. It's flow. It's like, and here, I want to get really clear about one thing. It's not about disavowing or eliminating all of your pain points, because life's got ups and downs. It's just about framing them effectively. It's about, tagging them appropriately and then putting them somewhere where they don't debilitate or slow you down or create more stress than absolutely necessary.
There you go. So put some definition around flow. What does flow mean to you?
I think it means living intentionally. And I think it means, my version of the definition is waking up with a plan and then executing the plan. And when things come along that interfere with that plan, they're not debilitating. You just skate and skirt, you kind of go around it or you go over it and you keep going and it doesn't stop you. To me, flow isn't a perfect path. It's just a path that's undeniable in terms of it being really important and that you're not going to be denied that opportunity.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you made mention earlier, like we both kind of score on the scale of optimism, right? And I think that some people might think, oh, we think we're in the zone all the time, or you're in your flow all the time, or we live life in mojo, if you will. But you're right. Like we have problems, we have opportunities, we have failures, we have days that we're not in the zone or
No.
in our mojo. And yet, I think the skill set is not to avoid those; it's how to minimize those. And talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, there's strategies for dealing with stress. And there's, it's been proven that if you get a good night's sleep and you drink lots of water and you eat healthy and you exercise, and then you employ even a little bit of mild meditation or breathing or time just to, become more internal, things just don't penetrate you. You kind of put up a force field. So there's proven strategies for how to launch your day. And I would say Hal Elrod's strategy for savers and his Miracle Morning book is phenomenal. So that's part of it, is just the setup. And the other piece of it is when things do go wrong, you have to make a decision how long it's going to affect you. And I understand there's probably somebody out there going, well, emotionally, I can't just pack it up and push it aside. And, I would argue that we all have capacity to not let, unfortunate situations hold us down any longer than necessary. But it's kind of that choice, not chance mentality. And, what if you dismiss the conventional thinking that success and hyper, success and wealth building always means stress, and I think people sometimes saddle up to that theory that in order to have what I want and excel above all of, the norm, then it's going to be painful and full of stress. And there are stressful moments, but again, there's ways, and to me, it's not living in that space any longer than you have to when it's not serving you better.
Yeah. So true, false. And to have high volume in the sales industry, do I have to live with high stress?
I would say that's false. You don't have to live.
But a lot of people think that. Talk us through that.
Well, I mean, because it is, some of it might be role modeling. To some degree, our parents come home from a long day at work and start, complaining about how hard and long it was as kids. And you just kind of, this is my opinion, but you just apex the thought that, well, clearly to be successful, you have to have stress because everyone has stress. And, to me, here's another tool or in the tool chest is that try to frame it in a way that there's a silver lining. What's the lesson? What's the opportunity? What's the relationship enhancement now that you have newfound information about something from someone that might have been, creating, again, stress is the word we keep using, but distress, uncertainty, uncomfortable, those are all words. And by the way, all of those things creep into optimistic as we are. We deal with it. Every day I wake up, look in the mirror and go, who am I and how did I get here? Yeah. And then I go, all right, if it's to be, why not me? And let's just make the best of it and do our best. And as long as you're doing your best, perfection is not a noble pursuit.
No, it's not. And one more true false that I hear, Rick, is to be rich, it comes at a cost. And people think this. And you talked a little bit about it, but go ahead.
I think to be rich, there's certain risks typically that you have to take. And there's certainly an investment that you have to make, and it may require hard work, but part of this, the fundamental way to not feel as much stress is pick a vocation and a path that you enjoy that's kind of gives you energy versus taking away. There's certain jobs and paths you may pick for your work life that honestly just are not in your natural swing zone or your strength zone or your gold medal zone. There's lots of ways people have described it. And, it's just, you're always running uphill when it's not a natural ability. So certain paths to wealth for me probably would have been difficult. The fact that I love people and I love training and I like consulting, real estate was a natural. And hopefully most people on this call that are in our industry feel that way when they wake up and they're empowered by the thought that, hey, a little bit of suffering on my end to get through some of the stress is really better for the universe and better for the world and better for myself and my clients and my family.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
The reality, and I hope people are hearing the transparency and the vulnerability that, hey, nobody lives in mojo 24/7. Nobody's in the zone, the sweet spot, the flow 24/7. Sometimes negative things show up, right? We've talked about that, and certainly we're economically we're probably going to see some in the next few months, right? Like there's going to be some negative
There's
things.
no way around it.
No way around it. But there's a thing called the 5-minute rule. And what the 5-minute rule is it says, I give me permission to have a pity party for 5 minutes. And if I want to go kick dirt and find myself in a field screaming or whatever I need to do to have my little pity party, I need to give myself that permission to do it for 5 minutes and then move on. And just don't live in the pity party, because living in the pity party robs you from mojo. It robs you from being in the zone. So take the moment, have the pity party, 5 minutes, and then move on down the road.
Yeah, that energy is a thief, and it steals from your potential to recover quickly enough to take advantage of the next opportunity while you're distracted with whatever it is that, and whatever it is that kept you from it. And here's another thing. Whenever I face consequences or circumstances that are debilitating, I immediately default to one, I do give myself permission to own it for what it is. And then I immediately think about whether I could or couldn't have controlled it. And regardless of the rear view mirror, can I control a better outcome going forward? And if the answer is no, I try to put it on a shelf and emotionally walk away. And then here's the next step. You've got to fill that void with something positive. And sometimes it's not just think positive thoughts, because I get it. That helps me, because gratitude, I'll think about the things that are right, and that makes a huge difference. But I'll also go into activity and action, because when you immediately start to do productive things, your brain moves away from the things that were debilitating and into the things that are enabling and creating opportunity for yourself. So if ever you're really feeling down and out, go do something productive and positive that will further that one step closer to the outcome you're looking for. Either, family, it can be anything in the wheel of life that feels like you're moving it in a positive forward way.
There you go. There's this concept of lifters and leaners. And it makes me think of, there's a song called Lift Me Up, and there's a song called Lean On Me. And, one, they're both great songs, obviously, but one really kind of speaks to what we're talking about here is how do you lift it up?
Well, and you've also
space above.
I think the lean on me also is more of a, I'm here for you. There's a difference between being here for someone and then being here for someone that constantly holds you down. Yeah. And so there is a fundamental psychology with lifters and leaners. It's a little different than the context of the song, but you're right. They do speak to the same terms. Lifters are people that build you up. They're the people that when you're having a bad day, you call them. They're going to remind you how awesome you are. They're going to remind you that, of all the good things you've done. They're going to remind you of your positive future because you have the skill set and the capacity. Leaners of the world are going to call you and bleed all over you with everything that's wrong and ask you to constantly prop them up because they're always broken. And, I think the idea behind it, and this may have come from Sarah Chattel, I think originally, and it's in Sean Rawls' book. And it just says, the fewer leaners you have in your life that drag and hold you like an anchor, the better your life, and your energy will be. And the more lifters you have in your world, the more positivity and infused, potential you'll feel around the circumstances that aren't always great. Perfect.
Well, Rick, how do we script our future here? I want to challenge everybody that, like we said in the beginning, we got 62 Mojo Mondays. If you don't have Mojo, borrow ours until you find yours, right? There's plenty of content to help move you in this direction, but challenge us, script our future.
Well, one is maybe if you're having, if you find this in, content helpful, then in Tuesday, Monday, you get a rockin' Monday because it launched you or helped you get your head right. Why not pull down one of the other 61 of them, which I think there's 62 left because this is 63 maybe. And make it a Tuesday, do it every day for 15, 20 minutes. And the other thought I had is that lifters and leaners, there's a saying that we're the average of the 3 to 5 people we spend the most time with. Make sure you've got lifters in that inner circle and that your inner circle are people that are, the wind beneath your wings and that, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Make sure that they're not, holding you down and they're pushing you forward and compelling positive energy.
Boom.
Boom.
We crushed it. Mojo Monday. Happy Monday.